Can you imagine the sheer heartbreak of watching your team reach the mountaintop twice in 5 years, only to stumble back down into mediocrity when everything that could go wrong actually does? The San Francisco 49ers know this pain intimately, and now one veteran Bay Area insider is proposing a radical three-trade blueprint that could either catapult them back to championship glory or blow up everything they've built since Kyle Shanahan arrived. The cruel reality of championship windows, the 2024 season, was supposed to be different for the 49ers. After back-to-back NFC championship appearances and 2 Super Bowl runs that ended in devastating fashion, San Francisco looked poised to finally break through and claim their first Lombardi trophy since 1994. Instead, they got a masterclass in how quickly NFL fortunes can change when the injury bug decides to make your roster its permanent residence. Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Aiyuk, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Dre Greenlaw. Reading that injury list feels like reciting the roster of a Pro Bowl team that never got to play together. The 49ers didn't just lose games in 2024, they lost their identity, their rhythm, and most painfully, another precious year of their championship window with an aging core. But here's where the story gets fascinating. Veteran Bay Area sports reporter Larry Krueger believes the 49ers are exactly 3 trades away from redemption. Not 3 seasons, not 3 years of patient rebuilding. 3 trades that could transform them from last year's disappointment into this year's championship favorites. The Aiyuk gambit. Trading away your star for championship chemistry. Krueger's most explosive suggestion centers on Brandon Aiyuk, the all-pro receiver who went from franchise cornerstone to trade candidate in the span of 1 injury-plagued season. The proposal? Ship Aiyuk to Washington for Terry McLaurin in what Krueger calls a win-win trade that could benefit both franchises. On paper, this sounds insane. Aiyuk signed a 4-year, $120 million extension just last season, making him one of the highest-paid receivers in the NFL. But sometimes the best trades are the ones that seem crazy until they suddenly make perfect sense. Aiyuk's 2024 season was a disaster wrapped in bad luck. 7 games, minimal impact, then a torn ACL that ended his season and left questions about his future effectiveness. Meanwhile, he's been vocal about his desire to reunite with former Arizona State teammate Jaden Daniels in Washington, creating the kind of distraction that championship teams can't afford. Enter Terry McLaurin, the steady veteran who's quietly put together 5 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons while playing with a carousel of quarterbacks that would make most receivers demand a trade. At 29, McLaurin is 2 years older than Aiyuk, but he's also coming off a career-high 13-touchdown season and brings the kind of reliability that championship teams depend on. The genius of this trade lies in its timing and psychology. Aiyuk gets his reunion with Daniels, Washington gets a dynamic receiver in his prime, and San Francisco gets a proven veteran who can mentor young talents like Ricky Pearsall while providing the steady production that Brock Purdy needs to reach his ceiling. The Ramsey resurrection. Gambling on a fallen star. Krueger's second move involves mining the Miami Dolphins' dysfunction for gold in the form of disgruntled Pro Bowl cornerback Jalen Ramsey. The proposal: send a 6th-round pick to Miami for the future Hall of Famer, who's actively being shopped by a Dolphins organization that seems determined to tear down everything they've built. Ramsey's situation in Miami reads like a cautionary tale about how quickly NFL relationships can sour. Once viewed as the centerpiece of their secondary, he's now become a salary cap casualty that Miami is desperate to move. For San Francisco, this represents the kind of low-risk, high-reward opportunity that championship teams exploit. The fit makes perfect sense from a schematic standpoint. Ramsey could play outside cornerback, allowing Diamador Lenore to return to his natural slot position where he's most effective. The move would also give rookie Upton Stout time to develop, while providing veteran leadership to a secondary that got exposed repeatedly in 2024. But here's where Krueger's proposal gets even more intriguing. He suggests Ramsey could also help inside at safety, giving defensive coordinator Steve Wilks the kind of versatility that makes defensive coordinators feel like chess masters. Having a player who can seamlessly transition between cornerback and safety creates matchup nightmares for opposing offenses. The Stewart steal, exploiting Cincinnati's contract standoff. Krueger's most ambitious proposal involves taking advantage of Cincinnati's contract impasse with first-round pick Shamar Stewart. The 17th overall selection in April's draft remains unsigned due to disagreements over his rookie contract, creating an opportunity for San Francisco to swoop in and steal a potential franchise pass rusher. The proposed package, Robert Beal, a 2025 second-round pick, and a conditional 2027 fourth-rounder, represents significant value for a player who was selected in the top 20 just months ago. But desperate times call for desperate measures, and Cincinnati's August 5th deadline to sign Stewart creates the kind of urgency that leads to favorable trades. Stewart paired with Michael Williams would give San Francisco a dynamic young pass-rushing duo that could terrorize opposing quarterbacks for years to come. More importantly, it would take pressure off Nick Bosa, who's been carrying the defensive line's pass-rushing burden almost single-handedly. The beauty of acquiring Stewart lies in both his immediate impact and long-term potential. On a rookie contract, he'd provide elite production at a fraction of the cost of veteran pass rushers, giving San Francisco salary cap flexibility to address other needs. The championship mathematics Krueger's three-trade proposal isn't just about individual talent acquisition. It's about creating a championship ecosystem where every move complements the others. Trading Aiyuk for McLaurin provides veteran stability. Acquiring Ramsey shores up the secondary while adding versatility. Stealing Stewart creates a fearsome pass rush that makes every other defensive player better. The timing couldn't be more critical. Brock Purdy just signed a massive 5-year, $265 million extension, officially making him the franchise quarterback around whom everything else must be built. These trades would surround him with the kind of talent that transforms good quarterbacks into great ones and great quarterbacks into champions. But perhaps most importantly, these moves would signal to the entire organization that the 49ers aren't content to wait for their next championship opportunity. They're creating it through aggressive, calculated roster construction that prioritizes winning now over long-term asset accumulation. The risk-reward reality, check. Let's be honest about the risks involved in Krueger's master plan. Trading Aiyuk means betting that his injury problems are behind him while giving up on a receiver who could return to all-pro form. Acquiring Ramsey means taking on a player who's already shown he can become disgruntled when things don't go his way. Pursuing Stewart means giving up significant draft capital for a player who's already creating contract headaches. But championship teams don't play it safe. They identify opportunities, calculate risks, and make moves that less ambitious franchises wouldn't consider. The 49ers have been knocking on the championship door for half a decade. Maybe it's time to kick it down. The championship verdict Krueger's three-trade blueprint represents the kind of bold thinking that separates championship teams from also-rans. Rather than hoping their injured players return to form and their young players develop faster than expected, the 49ers could actively reshape their roster to maximize their remaining championship window. The beauty of this approach lies in its immediacy. Instead of waiting for the perfect opportunity or the ideal trade partner, San Francisco could exploit current market conditions to address their three biggest needs: receiver reliability, secondary depth, and pass rushing talent. With Purdy locked up long-term and a coaching staff that's proven it can win with the right personnel, the 49ers might be exactly 3 trades away from ending their 30-year championship drought. The question isn't whether these trades make sense, it's whether San Francisco has the courage to pull the trigger on moves that could define their franchise's future. What's your take on this championship blueprint? Are these the kind of aggressive moves that finally get the 49ers over the hump, or is Krueger dreaming too big? Let me know in the comments below, and smash that like button if you're as intrigued as I am by these franchise-altering possibilities that could reshape the entire NFC landscape.